Aaron had never thought that his small colony would host visitors from the stars. The colony was young, built on a quiet planet far from Earth. Most of the people there were farmers, engineers, and simple workers trying to start a new life. Aaron was one of them, a boy who worked in the garden domes. He cared for Earth plants, making sure they could grow in this new world's soil. He liked the silence of the domes, the smell of flowers, and the way the green leaves made him forget that he was so far from home. One morning, everything changed. A message came from the colony leaders. An alien royal family was coming to visit. They belonged to a great empire, one that controlled many worlds. For humans, this was both exciting and frightening. No one wanted to make a mistake in front of such powerful beings. When the alien ship arrived, Aaron stood with the crowd in the open square. The vessel looked like a silver crescent, smooth and shining under the twin suns. People whispered, pointing as the doors opened and figures stepped out. They were tall, graceful, with shimmering clothes and strange patterns on their skin. Their eyes glowed faintly, like jewels under light. Among them was the princess. Her name, people soon learned, was Nira. She walked with calm steps, her long robe flowing like water. Her face looked different from humans but carried a kind of beauty that drew everyone's eyes. Her hair shimmered like threads of silver blue, and her gaze was steady, proud, and a little sad. Aaron could not stop looking at her. While others bowed or whispered nervously, he felt something stir inside him. She looked like someone trapped in duty, someone who did not smile easily. He wondered if she ever had the chance to be free, to laugh, to be seen as just a person instead of a princess. The colony leaders gave speeches, trying to show respect. The alien king and queen stood beside Nira, their faces serious. Guards with shining armor kept close watch. The moment felt heavy, as if one wrong step could break the fragile bridge between the two peoples. Aaron stayed in the back, silent. Yet his eyes never left the princess. He remembered the flowers blooming in the garden dome that morning, bright, yellow blossoms that humans called sunpetals. They were simple but beautiful, carrying warmth and hope. He thought of how lonely she had looked and wondered if a gift might bring her comfort. It was a foolish idea, perhaps even dangerous. But Aaron was not someone who thought much about rules. He only thought of what felt right. And in that moment, what felt right was giving her a flower. Later, when the crowd began to leave, Aaron quietly slipped into the dome and picked the best sunpetals he could find. He wrapped them gently in a cloth and held them close. His heart beat fast. He told himself it was only a small act, nothing grand, nothing political. He only wanted her to smile. That evening, when the royal guests were walking through the colony gardens under guard, Aaron saw his chance. He stepped forward nervously, holding the flowers in both hands. The guards instantly moved to block him, their weapons humming with energy. "Wait," Aaron said quickly, raising the flowers. "It's just a gift. For her." The princess stopped. Her eyes turned toward him, curious. She lifted her hand, and the guards slowly stepped aside, though their eyes stayed sharp on Aaron. The boy walked closer, his hands trembling, and offered the sunpetals. "They're from Earth," he said softly. "They remind me of the sun. I thought you might like them." For a moment, silence fell. The air grew tense. The princess looked at the flowers, then at Aaron. Instead of smiling, her expression changed into something unreadable: shock, confusion, and even fear. She whispered something in her own language, her voice quick and urgent. The guards stiffened. One of them spoke into a device. The humans nearby began to murmur nervously. Aaron's chest tightened. Had he done something wrong? The princess's gaze locked onto him again. Her eyes were not angry, but heavy, as if the flowers carried a weight he could not understand. Slowly, she reached out and touched the petals, but she did not smile. Instead, she lowered her head slightly, almost as if she was hiding her face. Aaron stood frozen. He had expected a smile, maybe a gentle word of thanks. But the reaction was nothing like he imagined. It was as if his gift had opened a door he was not meant to touch. The princess turned to her guards and spoke again. They nodded and looked at Aaron with strange eyes, half cautious, half respectful. Then, to Aaron's surprise, the princess said in halting human words, "You will come tomorrow." Her voice was soft but firm. She pointed at him, then at herself, then back at him. The meaning was clear, she wanted to see him again. Aaron's heart pounded harder. He did not understand why, but he nodded slowly. The princess gave one last glance at the flowers, holding them close to her chest, before walking away with her guards. The humans around whispered in confusion. Some thought Aaron had done something foolish. Others thought it was brave. But Aaron himself only felt a storm of questions in his mind. He had wanted a smile. Instead, he had been given an invitation, one that carried mystery, danger, and perhaps something more. That night, as he lay awake, Aaron wondered, why had the flowers shocked her? And what did tomorrow hold? The next morning, Aaron woke with a restless heart. Sleep had been thin, broken by questions he could not answer. Why had the princess reacted so strangely to the flowers? Why had she asked to see him again? He had expected trouble, maybe even punishment, but instead he had been given an invitation. The colony leaders were uneasy too. Word had spread that the alien princess had called for a simple gardener by name. Some said it was a mistake. Others whispered that it might be dangerous for humans if Aaron angered her. But no one dared to refuse her request. When a royal asked, even colony leaders had to obey. By mid-morning, a pair of alien guards arrived. Their armor shone like glass, and their movements were silent, like shadows. They said little, only gestured for Aaron to follow. The boy felt the weight of many eyes as he left the colony square. People watched him with a mix of worry and curiosity. The guards led him to a quiet chamber inside the alien vessel. The walls glowed softly, as if alive, and strange symbols pulsed like breathing lights. At the center of the chamber sat Princess Nira. She was dressed differently today, not in the grand robe of a royal visit, but in simpler clothes that still shimmered faintly. Her silver blue hair caught the light, and her eyes, sharp yet calm, turned toward Aaron. For a long moment, neither spoke. Aaron bowed awkwardly, unsure what to do. His heart thumped like a drum in his chest. Finally, the princess lifted a small device and touched it. A soft hum filled the room, and suddenly her words came through in clear human speech. "You gave me flowers," she said slowly, her voice calm but carrying a strange weight. Aaron nodded nervously. "Yes, from our gardens. I thought maybe it would make you smile." Nira tilted her head, studying him. "Among my people, flowers are not simple gifts. They mean a binding." "A binding?" Aaron repeated, confused. She lowered her eyes for a moment before looking back at him. "It is an old custom. When one offers flowers, it is a promise. It means you wish to join lives. To share fate." Aaron's eyes widened. His breath caught in his throat. He had never imagined such a thing. To him, flowers were a symbol of kindness, of welcome. But to her people, they were something far deeper, almost like a proposal. I didn't know," Aaron stammered. "On Earth, flowers are just a way to show care, or to say thank you. I never meant," his words trailed off, his face burning red. The princess's expression softened, though her gaze was still serious. "I understand. You are human. You did not know our ways." Still, she touched the petals lying beside her, carefully placed in a silver bowl. "By our law, when I accept them, it is not simple. My people will say I have honored the bond." Aaron felt a cold shiver. Does that mean we are bound? Nira nodded slightly. Yes. To my people, it is so. The boy's heart sank. He had wanted only to bring a smile, but instead he had stepped into something far greater, something that could change not just his life, but perhaps the fate of his colony. Seeing his troubled face, Nira's voice grew softer. Do not fear. I know you meant no harm. But others will not be so kind. Some will see this as insult. Others will see it as dangerous. Aaron swallowed hard. Then why did you not reject them? The princess paused, her fingers brushing the petals again. Her eyes glimmered with something unspoken. Because you were sincere. You looked at me not as a princess, but as a person. Few ever do that. Aaron blinked. He had not expected such words. For a moment, silence stretched between them, filled only by the soft hum of the walls. But before he could answer, the chamber door opened. A tall alien noble entered, his robe heavy with gold threads. His eyes narrowed at the sight of Aaron. Princess, the noble said in their own language, though the device translated for Aaron, this human stands too close. He should not be here. Nira's tone grew sharp. He is here because I asked it? The noble frowned deeply, his gaze sweeping over Aaron like he was a bug under glass. The council will not approve. Already they speak of dishonor. A human cannot offer flowers to one of royal blood. It is insult. Aaron felt his chest tighten, but before he could defend himself, Nira stood tall. Her silver blue hair caught the light like a crown. It is no insult, she said firmly. He acted in kindness, not mockery. I will not allow his heart to be questioned. The noble stiffened, his jaw tight. He bowed, though his eyes burned with disapproval. As you command, princess. But no, this matter will not rest. With that, he turned and left, his footsteps echoing through the chamber. The room grew quiet again. Aaron felt both grateful and uneasy. The princess had defended him, but he could feel the storm building outside these walls. You see. Nira said softly, turning back to him. It will not be simple. You gave me flowers, and now the path has changed. We are tied, whether we wish it or not. Aaron nodded slowly, his throat dry. I only wanted to make you smile. For the first time, her lips curved not a full smile, but a small, faint one, fragile yet real. Perhaps, she whispered, you already have. Aaron's heart skipped. But behind her gentle words, he felt the shadow of what was coming. This was no longer a small act of kindness. It was the beginning of something far larger, something that might decide the bond between two worlds. The days after the flower gift were not calm. Word spread quickly through both humans and aliens. The story was whispered in markets, in corridors, in meeting halls. Some humans thought Aaron had brought honor to their people, showing kindness to royalty. Others feared he had broken a rule that might bring punishment on the colony. Among the aliens, the matter was even louder. Nobles argued in their own tongue, and the Council of Elders questioned whether the princess had lost her judgment. To them, a royal accepting flowers from a human was unthinkable. A bond between their kind and a human seemed weak, even dangerous. Aaron felt the weight of every stare. When he walked through the colony square, people pointed. Some smiled at him, others shook their heads. He had never wanted attention, and now it followed him like a shadow. Inside the alien ship, Princess Nira felt the same. She sat in her private chamber, the flowers resting in a crystal vase. Their yellow petals glowed under the alien light. She touched them often, remembering the look on Aaron's face when he had offered them. There had been no trick, no hidden plan, only honesty. That honesty was rare in her life. For as long as she could remember, Nira had been surrounded by duty. Every word, every step, Every choice she made was weighed by her people. She was not free to choose friends or even speak freely. Everything was measured against her role as heir to the throne. Her father, the king, had already spoken to her. He reminded her that her future was not hers alone. Soon she would be expected to marry one of the noble houses, to form an alliance that would strengthen the empire. It was not about love or kindness. It was about power. Yet when she thought of Aaron, a simple human gardener, her heart felt lighter. He had not looked at her as a tool for politics. He had looked at her as someone who might smile. That small thought shook her more than the speeches of nobles. One evening, she called for Aaron again. This time, they met in the colony's garden dome, away from the heavy eyes of the court. The dome was quiet, filled with green leaves and soft light from the suns above the glass roof. Aaron stood nervously by the flowers he had cared for. He bowed his head when Nira entered with only one guard behind her. "You came," he said quietly. "I asked you," Nira answered. Her voice was calm, but her eyes carried a shadow. She walked among the plants, touching a leaf as if testing its softness. "These gardens are peaceful. They are not like the halls of my people." Aaron followed her slowly. "I thought, maybe you would be angry. About the flowers." "I was not angry," Nira said. "I was surprised. You gave me something that carried more meaning than you knew. Now, I must face the weight of that meaning." Aaron lowered his head. "I never wanted to cause trouble. I only saw that you looked alone." Her steps paused. She turned to him, and for the first time her gaze softened. "Alone? Yes. That is true. Even with crowds, even with guards, I am always alone." Aaron felt his chest tighten. He wanted to say something, but words felt weak. Instead, he reached out and touched one of the sun petals near them. "These flowers grow even in strange soil. Maybe you can too." Nero looked at him for a long time, her expression unreadable. Then, softly, she said, "Do you know what they call you now, among my people?" Aaron shook his head. "They call you the bond-bearer. Some mock it. Others fear it. A few wonder if it means humans are stronger than they thought." Aaron blinked. "Stronger? I'm not strong. I only grow plants." She tilted her head, a small light in her eyes. "Strength is not always in muscle. Sometimes it is in courage. You stood before me with nothing but flowers, while even nobles tremble in my presence." Aaron looked away, embarrassed. "I didn't think. I just did it. That is why it touched me," Nero whispered. The words hung in the air, soft and fragile. For a moment, the world outside the dome felt far away. But the moment ended when the guard stepped closer and bowed. "Princess, time grows short. The council expects your voice." Nira nodded slowly, then turned back to Aaron. "They will test you," she said. "The council will not accept this bond unless you prove yourself. They will say humans are weak, unworthy. They will demand that you face a challenge." Aaron's eyes widened. "A challenge? But I'm not a fighter. I've never trained like your people." Her gaze was steady. "Perhaps you do not need to fight like them. Perhaps you only need to show what it means to be human." The thought filled Aaron with both fear and wonder. He had never imagined his simple gift could lead to this. Yet now, the path before him was clear. If he wished to protect the bond, if he wished to stand beside Nira, he would have to prove that humans were not as weak as the nobles believed. As Nero left the dome, Aaron stood among the flowers, his mind racing. He was no hero, no warrior. He was just a gardener. But maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The day of the trial arrived faster than Aaron expected. From dawn, the colony buzzed with anticipation. Humans whispered nervously, while alien nobles gathered in their shining robes, their eyes cold and skeptical. Everyone knew the purpose of the trial, to test Aaron's courage, intelligence, and ability to respect the princess's people. Aaron stood at the entrance of a massive chamber inside the alien vessel. The walls glowed with shifting colors, and the floor was smooth but uneven, almost alive. A voice echoed through the hall, deep and commanding, explaining the rules. "You will face the trial," it said. "It is not about strength alone. It is about your mind, your heart, and your courage. Succeed, and you honor the bond. Fail, and you return to your people with lessons learned." Aaron swallowed hard. He had no weapons, no training, no armor. He only had his wits and his determination. The crowd of aliens watched silently from balconies above. Princess Nira stood to the side, her gaze steady, but her hands clutched the edge of her robe. The trial began. First, Aaron entered a maze filled with shifting walls and glowing traps. He had no idea where to go. Every turn seemed to lead to a dead end, every step triggered lights that could signal failure. He felt panic rising, but he took a deep breath and remembered the gardens back home. He imagined walking through the flower domes, paying attention to every small detail. Slowly, carefully, he noticed patterns in the maze. The glowing traps pulsed in rhythm. Some walls shifted slightly more than others. Using his observation, he began to move with the rhythm, avoiding the traps and finding paths through the maze. His mind worked like a gardener's hand, gently feeling for the right path. At the center of the maze, a small pedestal held a strange puzzle, a series of symbols that seemed impossible to read. The air hummed with energy, and the alien nobles leaned forward, watching intently. Aaron studied the symbols. They were not letters, but shapes, curves, triangles, and lines. He remembered how plants grew in patterns back home, how leaves spiraled around stems and petals followed the sun. Slowly, he rotated the symbols in his mind, imagining how they might fit together. With a careful hand, he pressed the shapes in a sequence that made sense to him. The pedestal glowed brightly, and the walls of the maze shifted, opening a path forward. The crowd murmured in surprise. Aaron had solved the puzzle without any training in alien knowledge. The next part of the trial was more physical. He had to cross a series of suspended platforms over a glowing chasm. The platforms moved unpredictably, and the floor seemed to tilt with invisible force. Other contestants might have relied on strength or agility, but Aaron used timing and focus. He watched the rhythm of the platforms, moving with careful steps. He crouched low when necessary and leaped only when he felt sure of the landing. Halfway across, one platform began to shake violently. Aaron froze for a moment, then remembered the lessons from the garden. Patience and observation could guide him even when danger seemed certain. He shifted his weight, balanced carefully, and reached the next platform. The crowd gasped, some whispering that humans were clever in ways they had never imagined. Finally, Aaron reached the last chamber. There, a glowing barrier blocked the exit. Above it, a hologram of Princess Nira appeared. She spoke in her language, which the device translated instantly. "To pass, you must show respect for what is not yours," she said. "This barrier is not meant to be broken. You must understand it, not force it." Aaron studied the barrier. It shimmered like water, constantly moving. He realized that brute force would not work. He remembered how he cared for fragile plants back home, how he nurtured them rather than forcing them to grow. He placed his hands gently on the shimmering barrier, breathing calmly. Instead of pushing, he observed the movement, adjusting his pressure to match its rhythm. Slowly, the barrier parted, opening a path without resistance. The nobles gasped again, and even the king leaned forward in surprise. Aaron stepped through and bowed deeply. The trial was over. He was exhausted, sweaty, and shaking, but he had succeeded without fighting, without weapons, and without cheat or trick. He had relied only on courage, observation, and respect, human qualities the aliens had underestimated. Princess Nira walked toward him, her silver blue hair glowing softly in the chamber light. She smiled, small, real, and full of warmth. "You see," she whispered. "You carry the strength of your people, even without weapons. You have shown me that humanity is clever, brave, and honorable." Aaron smiled weakly, bowing again. "I only did what felt right. I only wanted to show respect, to you." Nira's eyes softened. "And in doing so, you have proven more than any sword or spell ever could." The aliens around them murmured, some nodding in approval. The nobles who had doubted humans looked uncertain, perhaps even impressed. Aaron realized that this trial had not only shown his worth to the princess but had begun to change the way alien society saw humans. That night, as the sun set over the colony, Aaron walked among the gardens, thinking about the day. The trial had been terrifying, exhausting, and humbling. Yet he had learned something important: humans had a kind of strength that could shine in ways others could not always see. And somewhere deep inside, he knew the bond with Nira was no longer just about flowers. It was about courage, trust, and the beginning of something far greater than he could imagine. The success of the trial brought a mixture of admiration and anger. Among humans, people whispered in awe about Aaron's courage and cleverness. Many said he had proven that humans were not weak, even to the greatest empire in the stars. Yet, not everyone was pleased. Within the alien court, some nobles saw Aaron as a threat. They feared that a simple human could influence the princess and upset centuries of tradition. They whispered behind closed doors, plotting ways to remove him from the colony or worse, to discredit him entirely. Aaron could feel the tension even without knowing all the details. Walking through the colony, he noticed nervous glances from the nobles, their whispers like sharp knives in the air. He tried to ignore it, focusing instead on the small comfort of the gardens. The sun petals he had given Nira still grew there, bright and alive, as if reminding him of his courage. Princess Nira, however, could not ignore the unrest. She had seen the nobles' disapproval during the trial, and she knew it would not end quietly. That evening, she found Aaron in the garden dome, arranging new flowers with careful hands. The faint light of the twin suns reflected in her silver blue hair. "You have done well," she said softly, walking beside him. "But you must understand, your place here is fragile. Some will see you as a spy. Others will see you as a danger. Even I may not protect you completely." Aaron looked up, his fingers pausing over a budding flower. "I don't want to cause problems. I only want to stand by you, as a friend, or, as someone who respects you." Nira's eyes softened. "It is not that simple. My people will not forgive easily. And the bond we share, it is stronger than you imagine. Some will try to challenge it, to test you both." Before Aaron could reply, a commotion erupted outside. Several alien nobles, their robes rich with gold and crimson, entered the dome with sharp expressions. Their leader, a tall noble named Corin, spoke in a voice that echoed through the chamber. "Princess," he began, his tone cold, "this human does not belong among us. Your bond with him is dangerous. It is a breach of tradition, and it cannot be accepted by the council." Nira stepped forward, her hands clenched at her sides. "I commanded that he be here. He has proven his worth. He has passed the trial. That is enough." Corin's eyes narrowed. "Trial or not, a human cannot hold a place beside a royal. You are blinded by sentiment, princess. He is unprepared to face the responsibilities of our people." Aaron felt his heart pound. He was no warrior, no noble, no diplomat. He had only tried to show courage and respect. Yet now, he realized that his presence alone was being seen as a threat. "I am not blind," Nira said firmly. "I see him clearly. He is honest, brave, and clever. That is more than many of your people can claim. The nobles murmured among themselves. Some leaned closer to whisper arguments, others glared at Aaron with thinly veiled suspicion. It was clear they were planning something. Corin's face hardened. If the council does not intervene, I will. This human must be tested further. He must prove not just cleverness, but loyalty, skill, and understanding of our ways. Otherwise, your bond with him is meaningless. Nira's gaze softened as she looked at Aaron. Do not worry. I will not let them destroy what we have begun. But you must be ready. The next challenge will not be simple. Some may even try to harm you. You must trust in yourself, and in what you have shown already. Aaron swallowed hard. I will do whatever it takes. Not for glory, not for power. Only to show that humans can be honorable, and to stand by you. Nira's lips curved in a small, proud smile. Then we will face them together. But remember, courage alone is not enough. You will need intelligence, patience, and understanding of their ways. They will test everything about you. The nobles, seeing that their initial warning had been rejected, left the dome in quiet anger. But the message was clear: Aaron's presence, however brave and honorable, would continue to be a point of conflict. The Empire would not accept him easily. That night, as the colony grew quiet, Aaron sat among the flowers he had tended for years. The sun petals swayed gently under the artificial lights, their golden petals glowing like small suns. He thought of the path ahead, the challenges, the tests, the whispers of those who feared him. Yet, even with the weight of doubt and danger pressing on him, he felt something stronger: hope. Hope that his courage and honesty could make a difference, not just for himself, but for humanity. And hope that Princess Nira, who had seen him clearly, would not have to face the world's judgment alone. The rising conflict was only beginning. Forces both visible and hidden would challenge him. But Aaron, a simple human with flowers in his hands and courage in his heart, was ready to face whatever came next. The great hall of the alien capital was filled with a quiet tension. Tall stone walls glowed with soft blue light, and the elders sat in a circle on high seats. The princess stood in the middle, her long robe flowing like water. Beside her, Aaron felt small and uncertain, yet he kept his head high. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The question of the flowers had to be answered. Would the princess accept the gift and declare a bond, or would she refuse and send the humans away? The elder at the center raised his hand. His voice was deep and slow. Princess, you have seen this human's actions. You have seen his courage in the trials, his heart in the attack, and his words of peace. But still, the meaning of the flower stands. If you accept, it means unity. If you refuse, the bond is broken. The hall murmured. Many aliens looked at Aaron with curiosity. Some looked with hope, while others frowned with suspicion. The rival factions stood close together, their eyes sharp, waiting for her to turn the human away. The princess lowered her head. She held the flowers in her hand, turning them gently, as though weighing their meaning. Aaron could feel the heavy silence pressing down on him. He wanted to speak, but he did not know if it was his place. At last, he took a deep breath and stepped forward. Elders, Aaron said, his voice steady though his heart raced, I must speak. When I gave the princess these flowers, I did not know what they meant to you. On my world, flowers are a gift of beauty. They are a way of saying, I wish for peace. I wish for kindness. That is all I meant. I never wished to force myself into your ways. I only wished to show respect. The rival leader, an elder with a hard face, struck his staff on the ground. Respect? You break our customs, then you speak of respect? Humans are careless. You act without knowing. You cannot be trusted. Aaron met his eyes and did not step back. Maybe I did not know your customs, Aaron said, But I did not act with carelessness. I acted with heart. When a child was in danger, I ran to help. When a beast was hurt, I tried to heal. When your city was attacked, I stood and fought beside your people. If that is not respect, then what is it? A murmur spread through the hall. Some elders nodded. Others still looked uncertain. The princess raised her head now. She looked at Aaron, then at the circle of elders. This human speaks with truth, she said softly, yet her voice carried through the chamber. He does not hide behind empty words. He gave me flowers not for power, not for custom, but for kindness. I have watched him. I have seen his heart. He is different, but difference is not weakness. The rival elder stood again, his voice sharp. Difference is danger. If you accept this gift, you risk changing our ways. You risk binding yourself and our people to a stranger. Do you wish to break the law of the ancients? The princess turned her gaze on him, calm but strong. The law of the ancients was made to protect us from lies and false vows. But what if the vow is not false? What if the meaning can grow? Are we prisoners of the past, or do we have the power to shape a new future? The hall grew silent again. Every alien seemed to hold their breath. Aaron stood very still. He felt a strange mix of hope and fear. He had no power to decide, it was all in her hands now. The princess stepped closer to Aaron. She held the flowers before her, looking down at them. Her voice was quiet, meant for him alone, yet everyone could hear. When you gave me these flowers, you wished for a smile. You wished for peace. That wish was honest. I cannot turn away honesty. She lifted her head and looked at the circle of elders. I will not reject the flowers, she declared. The rival elders' eyes widened. A wave of whispers broke out across the hall. Some voices were angry, but many were full of wonder. The princess raised her hand for silence. But I will not bind myself in the old way either. I will give the flowers a new meaning. From this day, they will not only mean union of two souls. They will also mean friendship between different worlds. This is my choice. The hall exploded in sound. Some elders argued, others cheered. The rival faction tried to protest, but the crowd's voices grew louder. Hope was stronger than fear. Aaron stood frozen. He could hardly believe what he had heard. The princess had changed the meaning of a tradition that had lasted for centuries. She had taken his small mistake and turned it into a bridge between their people. Slowly, the princess turned back to him. Her eyes were calm, and for the first time, she smiled. Aaron felt his heart lift. It was the smile he had been waiting for since the first day. But now it was not only a smile for him. It was a smile for peace, for a new beginning. The choice had been made. The story of the flowers was no longer just about a human and a princess. It was about two worlds learning to stand together. The hall was still buzzing with voices long after the princess spoke. Some aliens cheered, some argued, and others simply looked stunned. Never before had anyone changed the meaning of a tradition so old. The rival faction tried to raise their staffs and protest, but the people no longer listened. Their eyes were not on the rivals now. They were on the princess and on the human who stood beside her. Aaron felt a mix of relief and disbelief. He had come here with nothing more than flowers and a hope for peace. He never thought it would lead to this moment, where two worlds stood on the edge of a new beginning. The elder in the center struck his staff on the ground, calling for silence. His voice was heavy, but not angry. The princess has spoken. Her choice is bold. It is not bound by the ancient way, yet it carries the weight of truth. We cannot deny the power of what we have seen. The human has shown bravery, wisdom, and kindness. The princess has given the flowers a new meaning. Let it be written, from this day forward, flowers will stand for peace between worlds. A roar of approval spread through the hall. The rival faction shouted their anger, but their voices were drowned out by the sound of hope. The princess turned to Aaron, still holding the flowers. For a long moment, she said nothing. She only looked at him, as though seeing more than just a human explorer. Then, in front of all, she offered the flowers back to him. Aaron blinked, unsure what to do. Slowly, he reached out and took them again. The hall grew quiet, waiting for his response. He looked at the flowers, then at the princess. His voice was soft but clear. On my world, when someone gives back a gift, it is not rejection. It means the gift now belongs to both. These flowers are not mine alone, and not hers alone. They are our symbols of friendship that belong to both our people. The aliens murmured in agreement. The elders nodded. The princess smiled once more, and this time her smile carried warmth, trust, and promise. That night, the city held a great gathering in the open square. Lights of many colors floated in the air, and music filled the sky. Humans and aliens stood side by side, speaking, laughing, and sharing food. For the first time, the two groups did not stand apart, they mingled like old friends. Aaron sat near a fire, watching the joy around him. He felt a deep peace in his chest. Yet he also knew this was only the beginning. Trust was not built in a single night. It would take time, patience, and effort to make this peace strong. The princess approached him, her robe shining in the glow of the fire. She sat beside him, graceful and calm. For a while, they said nothing, only watched the people. Then she spoke. "You did not come here to change our ways," she said. "Yet you have. Does this surprise you?" Aaron gave a small laugh. "More than anything. I thought I was only bringing flowers. I never thought it would mean so much." She tilted her head. "That is why it did mean so much. You gave without knowing the weight. You gave with a pure heart. Sometimes the smallest act can shape the future." Her words stayed with him. He realized then that this moment was not just about him, or even about her. It was about all humans and all her people. They now shared something new, something fragile but powerful. The next day, the rival faction left the city in anger. They did not accept the change, but the people no longer followed them. The elders promised to work with the humans, to learn from each other and build trust. Aaron and his crew prepared their ship to leave, but the farewell was not sad. It was filled with hope. The princess came to the landing field with many of her people. She walked to Aaron and placed her hand gently over his, pressing the flowers between them. "These flowers began with you," she said. "Now they belong to both worlds. When you return, bring them back. Let them remind us of this day." Aaron nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "I will," he promised. As the ship lifted into the sky, he looked down at the city below. He saw lights, music, and smiling faces. He saw a people no longer afraid of humans, but ready to meet them as equals. The flowers rested in his hands, glowing softly in the light of the cabin. He thought about how one small act had grown into something far greater. He had offered flowers hoping for a smile, and in the end, he had received more than that. He had received trust, respect, and a bridge between worlds. The princess's final smile stayed in his memory as the stars opened before him. The journey of peace had only begun, but he knew one thing for certain: no matter the distance, the bond would remain. And somewhere, far below on that alien world, a princess stood under the starlight, holding the memory of flowers and the hope of a new future.